So if anyone's been around a while, I just wanted to put something together from all of us to John Kitchens and Jay Kinder and Michael Reese. Thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you for, I'm having the time of my life. And I just wanted to thank all you guys. Appreciate that. Yeah. So although we put it together, Michael Krimpansky, he's the editor and producer on that, I suppose, or co-producer, would it be? Something like that. Oh, is that what it is? Now that would be cool. So, man, it's been a heck of a last year. Last mastermind, Jay's asking me, you know, when did we do this last? It was in Dallas, and man, what's changed since then? And so I've just had a lot of time to reflect, you know, be grateful, but one of the things that I've been just kind of like as I reflect, I like to look back and dissect just decisions, little decisions. Mike and I were talking about, well, actually all of us, we were at breakfast and we're saying, well, what if we didn't make this decision back in 2008 or 9 or whatever, and then if we hadn't made that decision, this wouldn't have happened, and how that just, I guess I'm just fascinated by the trajectory of our decision. So I thought, instead of, John did ask me to do a presentation on business model. I'm sure there's going to be enough talk about that, and we've talked about it a lot, and we still have a lot to solve, but I think that if we can kind of look at and be aware, so the goal of my presentation this morning is to help everyone maybe be just a little bit more aware of the decisions that we make, and then how we make the decisions, and then maybe you'll be more aware and conscious of the unconscious decisions that we make. And so hopefully it's not too confusing, but I'm going to get into some cool stuff. The Latin definition of decision, you may have heard this before, is to cut off from. Meaning, once a decision has been made, you're cutting off the possibility of if the decision is A, B, C, and D, A, B, C, and D, and you choose A, all the rest are off, and you've cut off the possibility of any other decision. So it brings me to a story that many have probably heard, but I'm going to go into it anyway because it's about the beginning of my journey. What I feel is that, you know, the reborn era of my career in 2010 when I hired Kinder Reese to coach me. And my coach, Cliff Freeman, said, "Man, you gotta get to the Exponential Growth Summit. You gotta get to the Exponential. I'm spending money on this, and I'm investing in my business here, and I'm spending money on coaching, and I could not afford it, but I made it happen anyway. So I made a decision to go to Dallas, Texas, for an Exponential Growth Summit, and I had 2 goals. One was to get a picture with Mike and Jay, which you saw I did get. That was the first picture. And the second was to take away one thing that I can implement in my business. And both of those did happen. But I heard a story while I was there. And was anyone at Kevin Schumacher? You were there. How many people were at the 2010 EGS? Anybody? You were there. You were there. Of course you were there. And the story went, you know, everyone know who Hernando Cortez is? So Hernando Cortez, back in 1519, he was a conqueror. And he gathered a group of men, 500 soldiers, 100 sailors. I'll get that for you. They were had 16 horses on 11 ships, and they set sail from the shores of Cuba to the Yucatan Peninsula. And their goal was to steal the largest treasure that was known to man. And conqueror after conqueror after conqueror tried to take this treasure and failed. It was guarded by the best army and the strongest army and the most fierce army. But Hernando Cortez decided instead of doing what all the other conquerors were doing, he was going to try a different strategy. And so instead of just getting a bunch of group of strong men together and sailing across to the Yucatan Peninsula to just start the fight, he started speaking to them differently and speaking to them about how their families would live in favor and how their kids would grow up differently and how it's going to affect not just their children, but their children's children and generations upon generations after that. And he got them inspired. So they start their voyage across to the Yucatan Peninsula, and about halfway through, they started losing a little bit of their confidence. And he started hearing the mumblings like, I don't know, Hernando, I'm thinking we need to turn back. I'm getting a little nervous about this. And Hernando's, he could have given him another pep talk. He waited till he got to the beach, and he gathered everybody on the beach when they landed. And he gathered them all around, and instead of giving them the strategy, he reiterated his vision and re-articulated the vision to them of how their lives are going to be different and their families are going to be different. And then he leaned in, and he said 3 words that changed everything. And he leaned in real quiet, and he said 3 words, and he said, burn the boats. And his men were like, excuse me? He says, burn the boats. He had 11 ships out there, and he had his men torch all the boats. And they were like, what the hell is going on? Well, he made a decision to cut off, and there was no going back after you burned the boats. If they were leaving that island, they were leaving on their opponent's boats, not their boats, and something magical happened. They fought really well. When they made that decision to cut off any other possibility, there was just no plan B. Something different happened, and they did what no other army was able to do, and they ended up taking the treasure. So I wanted to kind of tell that story just about, so you can start thinking to yourself, because we all have some boats that we probably need to burn. And some of those boats are beliefs that we're hanging on to, because it's the beliefs that help us. It's one of the filters that we make our decisions from. And so as we just go through this day and through tomorrow, and you're hearing these speakers and these people are inspiring you, I want you to start thinking of what boats you might need to burn. What changes in your belief systems that you may need to believe. Because in the last 12 to 13, 14 months, I've had to change some of my belief systems that I held pretty strong. And I'll tell you, it's led to some really great things. So what boats do you have to burn? There's 2 reasons people usually make a decision. It's either pain or opportunity. Either moving away from pain or moving toward opportunity. So I want you guys to think, if you were to look back, I want everyone in the room to think back to a decision that you made that was pivotal in your life, business or personal, that had a huge impact. I have on here business, so let's stick with business. That if you hadn't made it, things would be a lot different right now. And I want you to think to yourself, did you make it to move away from pain, or did you make it to move toward opportunity? How did you make the decision? I can tell you that when I made the decision to go to EGS, I wasn't actually moving away from pain, I was moving toward opportunity. So just as an example, and I will tell you this, last year in 2017, when I chose to look at maybe there was a better way to grow my business model, I was moving away from pain. I experienced pain. One of the takeaways I'd like you to get from this presentation today is that you don't have to wait for the pain. It's a belief. And so I just want you guys to understand that these beliefs are what shape our decisions. And but we're pretty strong individuals in this room. So we hold on to these beliefs, and I don't know about you, but I can be stubborn sometimes. It doesn't have to be that way. So in 2012, I'm just going to tell another story about the trajectory, and this is a fun story. So in 2012, I ran a Tough Mudder. It was my first and only Tough Mudder. Tore my hamstring while I was doing it. Prior to that, I had opened up my first real estate office. I was still with Remax at the time, and my broker was fully in support of me doing that. So I opened my own office up, and it was a rainy, I think it was April 30th, 2012, and it was raining. It was crappy out, and next thing you know, my assistant, who is extremely infatuated with Jay Kinder, comes in there with all happy. She's like, Jay Kinder's here. And I go, get out of here. She's like, yeah, he's here with Mike Reese. And I go, no way. I peek out. Now, I was on crutches because I tore my hamstring. And I said, no kidding. Wow, what are you guys doing here? Well, they were there to see Dan Kennedy. So let's just look back here. They went there. The short of that story is that they were there in Cleveland. They didn't fly there to see me. They fly there because Dan Kennedy was coaching them. And they got there a little bit early, and the airport was real close. They went to my old office, because I had just moved into a new office space. And so the decision, was it $30,000 a day? $38,000 a day. It was very easy. How many reasons did you have not to make that decision? Lots. 38,000 worth, right? And then there's the next decision was, hey, why don't we go see Al, see if he wants to come to Mastermind. Now, Mastermind was just launched 3 months prior or something like that, because it was in Aspen. That was the one I was not at. And so they went to the wrong office, and they didn't find me. And then at that moment, there could have been a decision, let's just go get some wings and beers and go to the hotel, and we'll call Al later. But they didn't. They took another step, and they found my office and came in and invited me out for some wings and beers. And what I didn't know was to invite me to Mastermind. And Mastermind was going to be at Kentucky, the Kentucky Derby. And lots of stuff happened at that Mastermind, you know. I came to that Mastermind on crutches. I went home. Before I went to the Mastermind, I went home and told my wife, and I was like, all right, I'm going to have to put my sales hat on in this situation and tell her why I need to go to Kentucky next week on crutches. And she's crying, giving me every reason in the world why I shouldn't go to this Mastermind. And it was much easier for me to make the decision to not go. I just opened an office, spent $50,000, $60,000 on opening a new office up. So it wasn't like I had a whole bunch of disposable income to just go on more trips. I was trying to spend less money at the time, actually. And but I made the decision to go. And man, think about if I didn't. Think about if they decided after one try not to come to my office. And this is just the things that I've been thinking about over the last 12 months and going through the trajectory of decisions. So I don't know if you know this, but only 5% of the decisions that we make we actually make consciously. In other words, where we're actually thinking about, I got to make this decision. 95% are made subconsciously. Everybody know that? So the subconscious mind can process 11 million bits of data per second. That's how fast it works when we're not thinking about it. And you can see that when we're consciously actually thinking, we're consciously actually making decisions, only 40 bits of data per second. That is a ridiculous difference between it, right? And so the subconscious, when we make those subconscious decisions, these are the data points. These 11 million data points. It's what we've seen, what we've heard, what we've read, what we've done, what we've touched. Ouch. What we've felt on our side of our necks when we're on Duval Street getting a tattoo. It's what we've experienced. Sometimes you just got to burn the boat. Go with 100% Key West cock and Pooh Bear. It's what we believe to be true, but we believe it to be true. Just because we believe it to be true, is it true? So should you always go with your gut? Who believes that, man, I got to go with my gut? Who believes that? There's memes all over the place, right? I'm just going to go with it's my intuition. I know that it's right. Right? We've all heard it. We've seen the memes on Facebook. They're cute, right? These are the most successful poker players in the world right here. Do you think that they make decisions off their gut and intuition? Nope. Because they'd be losing millions and millions of dollars if they just decided, if they went with that every single time. Now, I'm not saying you don't listen to your gut every time. I listen to my gut sometimes too. What I guess I want to challenge you is to think a little differently about that gut decision that you may be thinking you're making, because it's based off of the beliefs and experiences that we've had, and maybe that needs to be challenged is all I'm saying. Maybe you just need to be aware when your gut's talking to you, and that awareness is the goal of what I'm just trying to get across to everybody when you're gonna, because everyone's gonna leave here and we're gonna make some decisions, right? And I'm just hoping to help you think differently with a mental model of how you're gonna make those decisions. So everyone's heard this. We buy on emotion and justify with logic. Everyone heard that a million times, right? I'm here to challenge you to say that's wrong. People do not decide to buy emotionally. They decide the decisions made subconsciously, and it looks like this. The decisions made subconsciously, it's communicated, the decision's communicated to the conscious mind via an emotion. And we justify that emotional signal with logical reasons. Does that make sense? Everyone says we buy an emotion. We buy with that subconscious, with all those data points. That's where the decision's derived from. But then it's delivered with an emotion. So all we feel consciously is that emotion coming at us. How is that making us feel if we decide to buy that big flat screen? You know, it's being communicated, but the decision was being made by all those data points unconsciously. We didn't even know it. So the mental model is, I'm just hoping that we can all leave and have more of an awareness and just have conscious thoughts about your unconscious decisions and your unconscious behaviors. So what's the one decision that we all make every day with our businesses? This will be an interactive thing. Jay Kinder, what's one decision?
One decision?
Yeah, that we all make in the room every day when we wake up in our business. Whether we're going to show up or not?
Where we invest our time.
Where we invest our time? Mindset. Where's our Latina friends? Come on. I know we got a lot of them here. What's the one thing? These are all right answers, but the one thing is that we every day is what the focus. What are we going to focus on? Because what we focus on is the choice, right? And I'm going to challenge you. Are you focusing on your needs as a business owner? Are you focusing on what we have to do to make sure that the bottom line stays healthy, or this, or are we focused on every day to day on what the agents, we're all in here, we're all business owners, right? Some of you are still in production. Some of you may not be. Some of you are trying to get out. Some of you maybe you're running back in right now, and we've all been there. But are you focusing on a daily basis? Are your decisions that you're doing based off of how to grow your agents, how to grow people, or is it on you? Let me ask a different question. If you were focused on just your agents' needs and how to grow them every single day, would we make different decisions about how we would run our business? Are you focused more on listing appointments and more of those, or more agent appointments? Who can tell me what the highest leverage activity in your business is except for Mike Reese? What's the highest leverage activities that you can focus on in your real estate business today?
Get in front of the customer, you want appointments. Client acquisition. Client recruiting.
So there's two. It's either sitting in front of a seller face-to-face on a listing appointment or recruiting. The two highest leverage activities that you can do in a real estate business. Because unless I'm missing something, there's only really two ways that you can make business in or make money and grow a real estate business. You can either grow them through selling more houses or helping agents sell more houses. I'm not aware of any other two ways to grow a real estate business other than those two things. The highest leverage activity we could be working on is not running buyers. It's either as far as growing profit and profitability. If you're still in your business, it's listing appointments and it's agent appointments. And I can tell you this, the listing business, that's something that can be taught. You can teach people. Maybe they're not going to convert at the highest levels of you, but you can definitely teach that. But there's only one little problem. You need real estate agents to teach. And so I just want to challenge you. What are the activities that you're choosing? What are the decisions that you make, and what the decision that you focus on a daily basis in running your real estate business every day? We all fall into patterns where we wake up and we kind of do the same thing. I wake up 5:30, walk over, get my coffee, walk up to the gym, and I'm getting ready for my daily huddles. And 100% accountability. The number one thing that I had to become accountable to my leadership team is I wasn't blocking enough time in my daily schedule to just focus on the middle of funnel, meaning the real estate agents that I've had conversations with, and now I'm not even following up with them. And they need my help, but I'm busy doing other shit. My suggestion, my hope is that we leave here, and this when you stand up and give these presentations, a lot of it's because it's something that you need to work on internally. And how great is it to just be able to present the material so that it hits home. And now I hope y'all hold me accountable to this as well. But it's changed everything. When I've focused on blocking out 90 minutes a day, just 90 minutes, on the most highest leverage thing that I could do in my business, which is have a couple conversations with a couple different real estate agents that need my help in growing their real estate business. And I changed my focus to that. Everything else changed. Our team grew from 9 agents last year when we joined EXP to 36 agents today. And it's not from cold calling anybody. It's just from attracting, helping. It's what Mike said. The more we can help, the more we can coach, the more we're going to attract agents. So what are you going to start doing? Your take-home exercise, what are you going to stop doing? Write one thing down that you're going to start doing, and one thing that you're going to write down that you're going to stop doing. And changing the decisions and what our focus is on a daily basis and being aware of those decisions. So we could have a Q&A, or I could be done. I'm good either way. It was nice and short and sweet. Any questions? Comments?
That presentation was made for me.
What's that, sweetie?
That presentation, I felt like it was made for me.
Was I talking to you?
Yes. When you talk about the gut feeling and that you have to assume that you're wrong and all of that stuff, and I mean, I think you're not going to be able to help me now. We will have to talk outside of the room. Because my biggest challenge is I pay attention a lot. Like, I am aware. And sometimes I just feel that I'm right? Like, I have this gut feeling that's telling me, this is going on and this is happening. And then that plays into my emotion, and then I make wrong decisions based on that. And I just want to be able to control that. But, like, how do you focus on that? Like, I don't know how to ask that question.
Well, you said it earlier, because when we were going around, the one thing you said is you're controlling that emotion. But what I learned in preparing for this presentation was that the emotion it's not, the emotion's not helping you make the decision. It's your subconscious. All of your experiences and everything are sending these little signals. Oh, I shouldn't. Oh, I should.
And then you create stories in your head, right?
And it's then it's the emotion that comes from that's delivering it to your conscious mind.
Yeah.
And all I'm suggesting is you continue to do what you said you were going to do when we were going around, which is just being aware of it.
Yeah.
And not letting that emotion guide you to a decision. I was literally on the phone today with an agent who was with me and had left me and started her own team, and she's going to be coming back now. And she has to split from her business partner that she got in a relationship with, and it's highly emotional. But she knows that she knows this is the right decision. And how often is it that we avoid the right decision because it's just too hard? That's a great book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things. I mean, that book changed my life, because how many in the room have avoided making hard decisions because of a relationship you were in and didn't want to hurt the feelings, or you just didn't want to have the conversation? Who are we helping? Who are we doing good by doing that? Nobody. We're avoiding the inevitable. And so, but it's that emotion. And a lot of it's driven from good places, because some of it's driven from love. We don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, this and that. But at the end of the day, I think we have an obligation to coach them up or coach them out. And that could be anybody in your life, you know, and not being afraid of what other people are going to think, which is also a driving emotion in decisions. One of the best advices I got was Chad Goldwasser. In fact, it was in 2010 because he was presenting the next day. I met him at the bar. Imagine that. We're sitting there, and he's like, stop giving an F about what other people think. Make the decisions based off of what's the right decision. And what Mike has talked about in many of his presentations is assuming that you're wrong. That doesn't mean second guessing yourself. It just means I want to be less wrong, but you're opening your mind up to being aware of the decision that you're making. That initial decision, that gut, is based off of these subconscious data points that from all the years that we've lived on this earth and all of our experiences. I'm just suggesting that maybe you don't want to trust that every time, because I don't believe that it's right every single time, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, it might be related to this, but just taking advantage of the fact you're up there and we have some extra time, I think, with you. Just going to the, everything you've been thinking about, the way we think about our business model with the platform we have. It's when the video you did where the real estate team is dead. Thinking about that concept, you filmed that probably 2 months ago or so, maybe 2-3 months ago. So where's your thinking with it now? And at least something I'm experiencing is there are just what a team even is, what our businesses look like, the roads we could take it down, the opportunity for us to grow a big business, and what that means versus what we thought it would, what it would mean, say, a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's changing so much that even wrapping my arms around what avenue to take that down is a challenge, because there are so many avenues that look right. And on a very basic level, really just coming to terms with that, your team, your EXP team, is really your team. What's the difference, right? Because when one of your agents on your core team sells a house, you make money, correct?
Right.
When one of them sells a house, you make money. When one of the other in your larger national team sells a house, you make money, right?
Right.
So they're really on our team.
Right.
And that's a really sloppy question, especially if you don't particularly know what I'm talking about.
I think
but
I know
maybe
what
he
you're
could
talking
give
about.
it more color.
I think
What are you doing with it? What's the evolution of when you filmed that video 2 or 3 months ago to today?
well, first of all, that whole thing started a year and a month ago. And that presentation originally happened at the mastermind the night before, Sunday night, before we were about to start. We did like a bonus, for whoever was there early. And that was a presentation that I did then. And I just basically challenged the status quo of what we believed that team model should be or look like. And, does your model, I mean, some of the points, since we're talking about it, I guess I will, is that, if you all stopped providing leads for your agents, would you lose agents? I mean, the answer is yes or no. Yeah.
Yep.
Most people would. And so, what that tells us is that our business models, at least in this room, and it has for years, has pivoted around lead generation. But I'll tell you this, and I experienced this in New Orleans, is that, and this is why I mentioned what I mentioned when I was going around, what I'm trying to solve is that what we've experienced, what Jay Kinder said in that video was that, he was actually presenting partner, the idea of partner, which was the business model that they wanted to, and their goal was to partner with 2,000 agents around the country and provide services to them with a hub that would be able to provide services such as listing appointments, and administrative services, and coaching, and a technology platform, and to help grow real estate agents' businesses. That's heavy, and we learned that it's heavy. And going off that concept, 2,000, the goal was 2,000 agents, right? What are we at? 1,400 and 1,400. We're almost there, Highly leveraged. And what I learned in New Orleans is that everybody is so happy and so grateful. More happy and more grateful than my team over in Cleveland, Ohio, which I'm doing backflips and double the amount and spending double the amount in leads. And so there's something not right. I don't know the answer, Daniel, but what I know is that what this model has forced me to do is get real with my value proposition. And my value proposition is three things. I provide coaching, administrative help, and lead generation. I'd love to cut that third pillar out because I know that there's a ton of brokerages. And I'm just going to throw a couple out. Howard Hanna's in my market. They're the number one. They have number one market share. They're right above Keller Williams in market share. And they don't provide any leads. None. They have more agents. Now, they have attrition just like we all going to lose agents. It's just going to happen. We're just not right for everybody. We have to come to terms with that. That's going to be okay. The question is, are we able to help more people than we're losing out the back end? And Howard Hanna doesn't provide leads. Now they have a website and whatnot, but not like what we do for our people or like what we think we need to. Because inevitably what happens is those lead generation systems were built when we were selling, and then we step out, and then we're talking about the conversion dropping big time. We end up losing money. It's not a win-win. What's crazy is that some of these agents that are getting the leads and they're not selling anything, if you take them away, they're like, what the hell did you just do? I want more leads, because it's addictive. That's the death of the real estate team is part of that was that addictive nature of the lead generation. So I don't know exactly what it looks like, but the phenomenon that I've witnessed over the last year, which has been great, is that we provide that level. It's more of a culture. Shep Black talks about a lot. Is providing that environment. What I believe that we've done with the help of Mike and Jay's platform and influence was we created an environment for success. We created an environment for happiness, to support agents, to meet them where they're at, not with these grandiose goals like, you join us and we need you to sell 40 houses. I think that's a recipe for disaster, because now you're expecting that agent to meet you where you're at. So we just have to make, I think, different decisions in how we decide we want to grow our models, and it's forced us to really, kind of look at it in a closer way. If I could run my local team like we run our national team, we're going to have happier people. I'll be happier. We can fulfill the promise a lot easier,
Go into that.
What?
Go into that as a big deal. If we do our local team like our national team, give that some color.
Yeah. Can I add one point to the previous? So the reality was that with partner we were trying to just solve a problem, and the problem was the one he described. And if you went to expansion, what did they call that, ESO class? One of the first exercises that you do is you write down your value proposition. What are you going to offer to an agent to come work for you? And most people would write down leads and all of that, and we did that. The first guy we recruited never had his license. In fact, we had to give him. Jay gave him money for Christmas shopping because he was eating at the Frisco Family Service Center. He couldn't even buy Christmas presents. Jay runs this guy back to the office at 8 o'clock at night. Says, "You got to meet this guy. He's pure talent, but he can't even get his license." And so I run up to the office. We hire this guy, Chris. He sells 52 homes his first 12 months in the business. Tatum Hood, second person we recruited. 10 years in the business, never did more than 18 deals. First year with us, did 48 transactions. Third person we recruited, Denny. Denny in the month of January was the number 2 RE/MAX producing agent in the state of Texas, who did 100,000 in GCI that month. The difference is that Denny wanted her name on the sign. The other 2 guys didn't. So when the 2 first guys, when we sketched out the value proposition, the name on the sign was Jay and Mike. So they were good with that. They didn't have any other experience. And so the deal that happens is on our team, the problem is there was an article on CNBC a month ago about a lady who, she said, the number one thing I learned in business, I learned from Jeff Bezos, who says you never go get your rental car washed because you don't own it. And it talks about an ownership mentality. And so when I was in the room and I'm disappointed in myself, I swear to God, I thought of this. I was in the shower. Swear to God, this is true. I'm not making this up.
On the floor?
And I was on the floor. This is true. And I was trying to wipe this shit off my neck. And all this ink got on the towel. And I looked at the towel and I said, Mike Odo knows what kind of towels I have because he's like, dude, very Wayne, something type of towels. And I said, I would never wipe this shit off my neck with one of my towels at my house. Why the hell did I just use someone else's towel? That's a beautiful towel. That's not my towel. And it's because I don't own it. And I was like, that was just repunctuating the fact that if I would have bought that towel and went with my wife to pick out that towel, I would never wipe permanent ink on a towel that wasn't mine. And so the problem that currently exists is that when people are on your team, they don't put the discretionary effort out that it's required because they don't have that feeling of ownership. It's all about you. So when I was able to attract Denny with the value proposition on how I was going to help her grow her business, and the very mental model that we have to accept that's an expansion that's different that we saw in Partner, was that we realized that we could keep and attract higher end talent if it wasn't about us and it was about helping them. And so my reality has always been no different from my reality. Was I didn't do anything different for Chris than I would do for Matt or for Kevin. For years, I would get on I'd get on a plane and fly to Kevin's house, stay in his guest bedroom, help him recruit agents. No different. I would have more fun. But I like working with Kevin because Kevin does things. But and when I was on a plane, someone asked me about 2 weeks ago, who's the number one person that you like to work with the most? And I said, that is a freaking amazing question. Can I have a couple minutes to think about it? And I said, man, I like working with people that I don't have to make them believe. I like to look at people in their eyes like this, the guys that I'm working with now that believe sometimes even more than I do. And I see it in their eyes. I'm not trying to convince them, make them believe, sell them on something. They believe more than I do. All I have to do is help them make some decisions so that they can have the experience that they're believing in faster. And a lot of the times when I was working with agents that did not believe, that I was constantly trying to articulate the value just to get them to do the very basics, was the difference in when you have an ownership mentality and really it comes down to who is the ideal person that you want to work with. And that was the change. And I'll tell you, when you looked in a partnership and you had these people that were looking to you like little birds in a nest that wanted you to bring them a little worm and feed them every day, versus these other people that were reading more books than you, and when you saw them from one time to the next time, they might have learned 3 or 4 things more. Then you were around people that had something similar, and you knew if you told them to read a book, they would read it. If you told them to go buy a tool, they would buy it. You didn't have to convince them. They were going to be led to action. So for me, the model is a combination of, in business, it's who you're serving, and we're at the buyer agent level, we're serving the absolute lowest common denominator of the real estate market, and we just raised our standards a little bit because it's harder for those people. They're going to still be on our team, and they're still great incubate. In fact, my personal belief after being on the road at 38 cities in 90 days is that EXP will help build bigger teams faster, because right now you can't walk into a Keller Williams and say, hey, I want to know about what y'all do here. You can hear about EXP, you can see it on Facebook, but at the end of the day, you can't. A lot of people don't even know it's in the cloud. When they're first hearing about it, they don't know where to turn. So one of the first people I recruited, he said, I got 2 people to come to EXP that saw my sign being made at the sign store. And when they were picking up their sign, asked about my number on the sign and called me and said, this is Jeff Boone in Tulsa, Oklahoma, said, I saw your sign at the sign store. And that girl recruited the lieutenant governor of Oklahoma's brother, who's now recruited. And so the real highest leverage activity is you can't quantify the value. You can quantify the value of the exchange. It's called the value exchange. If I meet with a listing, I might have a $300,000 homeowner, and the economic opportunity is $9,000. But what was the economic opportunity of Al calling Jay to get an EXP, or Curtis calling you, or however you're experiencing? You can't quantify the value of what you're going to do. You can't quantify the value of Jason and Tracy getting started when they get home. You can't. That was a joke.
That's amazing. I think the other half of it is the ownership mentality, and the other half is the compensation misalignment. I think Miles could speak to that. If you don't mind.
Thanks for putting me on the spot there.
Yeah, you got it.
Ooh, let's get this.
Anything to...
All right. So a little bit about my background, just so you have a point of reference. I recently exited my brokerage. I've been taking this year off to find those next opportunities. That's why I'm here.
But I exited Mark Spain Real Estate, and last year did about 500 million in sales. This year, probably 700 million. So a big operation, 7 locations, and unfortunately, what kept me up at night the last 18 months was the attrition. And we're all going to have it, just like we all know. But I'll be the first to say that in my organization, it got really, really bad towards the end. Speaking to that, for anybody who has limiting beliefs on what compensation structure looks like, unfortunately, nobody paid their agents less than I did. When I started, I sold about 100 homes my first year with Mark. It was great. Learned a lot. It's not rocket science, but doing it at a high level and effectively and efficiently is rocket science. That's why we're all here trying to learn. But we got paid $795 a deal. Didn't matter if it was a $500,000 house or a $50,000 house. You were getting $795, which is fine because it adds up. But when I tell people I sold 100 homes my first year, they're like, "Man, you must have made a fortune." Slightly less than a fortune. A lot less than a fortune. But anyway, when it comes to the compensation, I mean, I don't know exactly what lane you might want me to go down, but I mean, a rising tide lifts all boats. So as I focus on the retention, it's not necessarily always on the front end of the immediate compensation, but retention methods that we use as far as potentially setting aside X% of what they earn on an annual basis in an account, let it sit, it vests every 2 to 3 years, ongoing. That way, let's just say somebody is halfway through their vesting cycle. Let's say that it vests every 3 years, and they're a year and a half in, and they've got monkey mind, but they've got 7% annually of what they earn sitting in an account, so let's call it 18 grand, and they're having a really bad day 18 months into this vesting cycle. Well, they're less likely just to bail and more likely to stay focused, and to what a couple people have mentioned, really stay focused on why they started, what they're trying to do, who they're trying to help, the life they're trying to build. So that's helped on the retention side. Was there a specific angle you wanted me to?
Well, I mean, you're paying your agents 18%. I don't know a highly producing agent who jumps out of bed excited, saying, "I cannot wait to go make an 18% commission split," especially when they're selling 80, 100 houses a year.
Sure.
You're going to train your competition. And I think one thing you said at dinner last night is you said, we bring them in when they're 29 and a half, and they're out by when they're 30 and a half years old.
Right. Would I do it again? Same. No. I mean, it worked. We muscled out growth. I think I said it last night. Things are not always what they seem, but we muscled out growth, and we drove that top line. But I think what really, what I really believe in, I'm full of some really awesome one-liners. But a rising tide does lift all boats, and there are one thing that I learned when I exited, because I was so narrowly focused on what we were building in Atlanta that I didn't realize there were tons, hundreds, if not thousands of other people, just like everybody in this room, who are making really great money. Our top line this year, I say I'm not there, but our top line might have been $30 million this year in GCI. That's a lot, but if you're not making any money on the bottom line, why does it matter? So because that's a lot of money, guys. That's a lot of commission. So I think, to answer your question, would I do it again? No. Did I learn a lot? Yeah. And was that, am I grateful for the experience? Absolutely. But without taking care of the compensation, without, working on the retention piece, without focusing on the culture, and then even one step below that, without diving into why they're there in the first place, why they reached out to you, why they want to get into the business. I could speak for hours on that, but aligning with those people, they're going to stay longer. They're going to be more fulfilled. And if you help them achieve what they want to achieve, it's just going to put, add fuel to your fire and helping you get to where you want to be. So that's kind of how I feel. So to answer your question, no, I would do it differently, but hindsight's 20/20.
I just want to add one thing. So when we moved the brokerage, we had, I think it was 10 or 11 agents that we moved over to EXP all at one time. We didn't move them over, and I don't think anybody in this room would question if we wanted to build a 1,000 or 2,000 person team at EXP. That was very much on the table and very much discussed, and we would very much be successful at probably doing that. But the choice that we made, the decision we made, was to move them all over to EXP and let that value proposition lead the way, as opposed to making promises that we were going to have to use our time, effort, and energy into helping execute on. It was not an easy decision. It weighed heavy because there was big opportunity with both, and you really don't know what the exponential factor of this is until you get into it for a little bit. But I can tell you one thing for sure, we made the right decision. The amount of time, effort, and energy that's going into the growth of just helping agents and adding more value to the value proposition that EXP already offers is way more leveraged than anything I've ever done. So that's the shift that I had to make.
How did Michael, I don't know if we defined that, how did you actually, like the ownership issue, then how do you solve that then in a new team model?
We let him go. I mean, we brought him over.
Yeah, and but what I would say is that the truth is, for me, if I was going back to that would be part of their progression plan. And so I even told somebody this. I said, I wouldn't even let them. I would say, you're expected to end up out on your own. Mm-hmm. I am your coach. I'm coaching you to start getting to where you want to go, where you're no longer with. So for me, and you're, you got to, I don't remember who I talked to about this, but, I'm on the road talking to these agents, and they want to be on a team. But for me, I would have a system that was getting them out for me. I don't know that it's right for everybody else. But there's so many opportunities that currently exist that I'm seeing I just look for problems in the marketplace. You know what I mean? Like, I look for problems and solutions which equal opportunity. And so the problem right now is that, I talked to, first of all, everybody's thinking about making a change at some time. And I had 9 calls with EXP potential opportunities. And I go to breakfast and I listen to Braden, and who asks amazing questions. And all these people, the questions that they're asking, I've been helping. That's what I've been doing. That's what I can do the best. So the thing is, when the goal sometimes is to make the promise higher to keep, which you don't with this agent. Talk about it like Wells and Guppies. The new agent being a Guppy. What their definition and their pains are and their success is different than the person who's up at the top, right? And so it's clearly under defining the segment of the market and how you can add value. The people at the top, someone said something to me yesterday, and I'll keep it, it's not relevant, and I said, Daniel Beer's not gonna listen to that. That's what I said. And I said, they were asking me what I thought about their podcast. I said, Daniel Beer's not gonna listen to that podcast, right? Daniel Beer might listen to a podcast on how to launch a podcast, write a book, and build an audience and get 1 million followers, but he's not going to listen to a podcast on this subject. So the real goal is, who's your target audience? I had Gene Frederick ask me at breakfast, hey, Mike, will you help me write a book? I had Sheila ask me, Michael Reese, will you help me write a book? That's a well-bait. They are looking, they have a story to tell, they've lived, there's some things that they don't really know about doing that. They need help with that. They might want to create a product because maybe they do something really, really well and they've seen other people online that have done it, and they want to create a product for a different reason to monetize their platform. That's the high-level agent. Some of those people are in this room. The lower agent is like, hey, listen, I'm just trying to make 6 figures. I'm trying to make sure that I don't have to go back to my job, right? And so my question to them is different. But I think that opportunity for those people and incubating those people is no different than what Partner was. If I had a team, they're going to leave anyway. I mean, mathematically, we've been doing these masterminds for a lot of years, and it's very few of us kept all the agents on our team for years. And if that is your goal, that's like trying to swim upriver. If you know the direction that they're going, how can you? When I would go on a for sale by owner appointment, I remember a for sale by owner said, well, what happens if I sell the home on my own? And I said, well, if you sell the home on your own, I didn't have an answer for that. And I was like, okay, if you sell it on your own, you don't pay me. How's that sound? Can we do the deal? Because I was tired of going home and not getting the listing, because they would always have someone that came that Saturday that they were waiting to call back that didn't show up, but they had hope in their mind. So they were going to push me off another 2 weeks. And I simply said, you know what, if you sell it on your own, you pay me nothing. Give me their names now. We'll add them to the list, and at least I can start marketing the property. Boom, problem solved, value proposition. What did I have? We came up with flexible commission rates, pay as little as 0% commission. It was created, expired, said, well, what happens if you do what my last agent did? Oh, well, if we do that, what do you mean? What did they do? They never called me. They made the sign. I didn't hear from them. All right, we'll have a cancellation guarantee. Added to the value proposition. How do I overcome the objection, right? So in that product creation of understanding the pains of the target audience and constantly tweaking what it has to be in order to meet the demands of where the market opportunity is. I just think that there's a huge market opportunity, whether it's Dan Hillsman, who tells the story why he left, I forget what it's called, Optimus Realty, where they changed his split, or everybody in here has people that have left or have left somewhere else. Why do we leave, and why do people stay? I don't think, right, are you going to leave EXP? Huh? I believe so. Would it be dumb? Because it's a better business model. You leaving? I ain't going nowhere. You going somewhere? Mm-mm. No. And so the question is at the very fundamental basic root, it's a better business model that's honestly hard. If you really just honestly look at it, EXP nailed the model. And that's just the bottom line truth. And so at that point right now, I'm dealing with the guy right now. I won't get into what, but he said he's not in a good position. But he's had all of the answers in front of him for a year. And what Mark Chesley did say, which was, I think we paid Mark Chesley $10,000 a month to coach us, right? He flew in. We paid him $10,000 a month last year to coach us. He flew in. He's the guy that did the deal with OfferPad. He was the vice president of OfferPad. He was the CTO of Infusionsoft. He's the guy that did the deal with Zillow. He's an attorney at Trait, but he flew in. And the mental model that he gave us is he said increase your decisions per year. Increase whatever decisions you're going to make this year, do it in 6 months. Whatever decisions you're going to make this month, do it in 2 weeks. Whatever decisions you're going to make this week, make them in the next 3 days. You got to increase and monitor your decisions per day. This guy's all his problems that is so sad because he's a good guy his problems wouldn't even be there. He would actually be playing offense. Now he's on defense because he couldn't make a damn decision. So the question is like, what decision do you need to go home and make? And for me, with the business model is either A, it's a problem with losing agents, and if it is, then you have to start iterating on that value proposition until you find something that allows them to come and is in alignment with the current reality. I don't think anybody ever is going to create a system that's going to make entrepreneurial real estate agents not want to be on their own, not have their face on their sign. So if you want to continue to muscle that model forward, then I've been in 7 masterminds 3 times a year with the same problems being, how do you keep a buyer agent on your team? I mean, well, why don't we just change the game? It's called game theory. Change one rule, the whole game changes. You're not going to stay on my team. In fact, here's the goal. When you come work for us, our average person is off the team in 13 months. That's our USP. Done.
Well, and that leads to like the part of the new model. The problem that we as team leaders, specifically with EXP, has to solve is the new agent. Because the new agent, therein lies like you're not going to rely on a team leader, such as like KW or whatever, or a broker owner with Remax. There is those positions don't exist here, so they are us, right? We're responsible for for getting them up off the, their career in the right direction. And I've noticed that. This is coming from someone, at least my own self, never wanted to work with brand new agents. Why? Because it's heavy. It's hard. And so I think that the key is making sure that you're monetizing that so that you can do it profitably, so everybody's happy, and kind of going with what Mike, there's a life cycle there. And understanding that that's a life cycle. And I don't know. Yeah.
My agents have a really crappy split. My agents are new. My agents, some have left and came back. I think we also know that it's not just about the split. To me, it's about the life-changing opportunities that we can create and the life we can provide for them. And that's why I'm so intrigued by this conversation, because I do believe in the team model. Like, it is very profitable for me. But this isn't about me anymore, right? This is about other people. So if there's a way these two can marry through the progression, this does give me an opportunity to now help change their life. I don't know if necessarily I want 13 months. I want to squeeze a little bit more out of them. Chet Black says, give me 3 years, right? But it's my duty to inspire them and to keep them hungry and motivated every day. Todd knows me very well. You know, my team, we're about 15 agents, and we have a hybrid office. And sometimes I ask myself, why are my independent agents still around? Like, I check myself. I'm like, I did them a disservice because I've only been focusing on my immediate team. So I'm loving this conversation because it's allowing me to check off the box as to, I can solve that problem with this. You know, I don't have to worry about someone being in this person's ear because I'm going to be in their ear to create that progression, like you're saying. And who was it that said they want to get out of production? Or was it you? Like, I definitely can, like, it changed my world to get out of production. And then I hear Miles talk about the split. We don't even talk about splits on my team. It's like, it's simple. I pay you 30% if you sell a house on a listing, and you pay 50% if it's a buyer. Your leads are not better than my leads. Your sphere is not better than my sphere. But I promise you, I'm going all in with you. So I feel like as I'm talking through this and hearing you guys, I don't necessarily believe the team model is a bad model. I just think that we're always constantly worried that someone's gonna leave us. But attrition is a good thing sometimes. Like, all revenue is not always good revenue, right? Sometimes bad money. So when I lost an agent the other day, it was one of the most beautiful decisions that we made mutually because I needed her off my team. I needed her to grow. She was messing up my listing inventory. She wasn't hungry enough anymore. And it wasn't about that. She made more money on 30% with me in the last year than she's ever made. But she just wasn't in the game anymore. Too many people got in her ear, and I didn't have a program for her to excel or grow. And I think that that's why I'm so intrigued about this model, because it will allow me to still keep them as a team member, and they're all part of the team. Like, what keeps me up at night is the fact that I feel I've let my independent agents, my hybrid agents, down because I haven't nurtured them and loved on them too much. Why? Because they got a higher split. I'm a shitty leader if that's the reason why I'm not servicing them. So I wanted to share that with you because those are the things that keep me up at night. It's not my team or the crappy split that some people might consider. It's my team is like, I'm gonna make $150,000 this year. Thank you, Veronica. You show me the light. And we never talk about the split, but then I lose sleep on the ones that I'm like, they're making way more money, but we're just not truly connected because there's this division. Like, don't talk to them. They're not on our team. Like, I want the water cooler talk to be about changing each other's lives, not about, hey man, you know, if you leave her team, you could still like get a better split. And my team will be like, I'm not worried about the split, man. I'm enjoying the quality of life that the Figueroas give us.
Right.
And I want to help craft the different mindset for those agents who haven't seen the vision that they also can build this. And that's the mission I'm on, is like, a team is not a bad word. It's not a bad thing.
No, it's not. But
Yeah.
the people that are on your team are exactly where they need to be, or they need to be moved to where they need to be.
Of
and
course.
The people that are in your independence, and this is what John talks about too, is meeting them where they're at, not where you feel you need. You know what I mean? Like, some people are a fit for that team model, and some people are just a better fit over here, and they're going to be happy there. Who are we to dictate where they should be versus meeting them and finding out where their goals are and meeting them there? I just think that it's definitely serving a different purpose, you know, because that new agent was often sloughed off to, you know, our manager or whatever, most of those big boxes don't do a great jobs of coaching the new agents. So who does a real good job? Our teams. We give them the higher level of support with administrative and with leads and with even the coaching. Why? Because there's more compensation. The compensation, but so no, it's a great point.
Let's give Albie a round of applause.
Burn the boats. Thank you.